Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Made Podcast. I am here with my brothers, so this is going to be quite the episode. What a way to start 2024 off. Both of them have been on my podcast before, Anthony Trca and Jake Trca. Guys, say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I've had Anthony on a lot. Jake's been on twice now. If you guys didn't know, speed, cap, round, I don't even know. I'm just going to fill you in on my brothers. So essentially, I live with my little brother Jake down in Arizona. And then my older brother Anthony lives here, but he pretty much started the podcast with me at the beginning of the year. So everyone's been begging for Anthony to come back on. So he's back on for the new year. And we're just going to get chatting. And I asked some of you guys questions on Instagram regarding like relationships, friendships. Because Anthony and I were going to do one on relationships, but I'm like, wait, this could be really good getting both of their perspectives on the podcast. And I just love our conversations all together. Quite interesting because we're all very different. We all are at completely different points in our life. Anthony's 28 and like into his career, almost at the point where you're like settling down soon, kind of. I'm 22.
Pre-retirement.
I wouldn't say settling.
No,
down.
but like you met a girl, like you're looking futuristically, like the next step is like probably wedding and kids. You're like you have like you figured out. His eyes are well, you know what I'm saying? You're just at a different phase in your life than me.
Not really.
We got a couple years.
Okay,
here.
well,
a couple years.
Okay, in my defense though, you're much closer than either of us.
Yeah, I'm getting old in a hurry.
You are. You're almost 30. I, on the other hand, I'm 22. I've been doing my career for a while, but I'm like kind of at a transitional phase of who knows what's next. And Jake's just starting. He's like a little spring chicken. You're just getting into work.
I'm just a little young buck.
So it's interesting because if you guys, everyone always like, I feel like chats about my mindset and my view on the world, and it honestly stems from these two. So that's why
today's episode is not sponsored by Dunkin'.
But if it was, that would be
It
amazing.
runs on
We'd
Dunkin'.
appreciate it though.
We
if you guys
do.
wanted to.
The
We'd
Trca
do
kids
it.
run on
We'd
Dunkin'.
do it.
But I guess we'll start off by just going through the questions that I have. I posted this like not too long ago, so we don't have a ton of questions yet. But
When she says that, she means like 10 minutes. She really gave you guys a real heads up.
yeah, I'm sorry. So we're just gonna go through these, and if they come in, we'll answer them as they come in. Otherwise, we'll just kind of branch off from like where we're at and
That's
just
fine.
chat because I feel like our conversations just kind of take their own course, anyways. But the first one, we're gonna talk about relationships. This is gonna be interesting because, like I said, Anthony's in a committed relationship. I have not been in a committed relationship in about a good 2 years. My love life is, I don't talk about it much on here, but it's quite interesting. And Jake's
God knows what's mine's going.
Jake's is different than mine, but also chaotic in its own way. So, anyway, we're gonna first answer the first question, and this is healing from a breakup you didn't want to end. She wants advice on this, or just any of our insight. My perspective would be, I feel like I just trust in God. I trust in God's plan and everything, and sometimes I feel like if you didn't want it to end, like God essentially had your partner like end it for some reason just because they knew you wouldn't, but it's like what's best for you. So that's the perspective I take on it. It's like it might not have been my decision, but like because God knows I wouldn't have done it for myself, like he's causing them to do it for me.
Well, and that's what I was just gonna say is, did it need to end?
Yeah. Because most what we
There's
want
a lot of
in
things
are
that
different.
you don't want to end, but sometimes it needs to happen. Had a customer 2 weeks ago, 11 years partnership with another guy ended, and I said, well, when one door closes,
Yeah.
a new one always opens.
Always.
And I said, look at 24 as a good year for growth.
Yeah.
And he smiled and he goes, you know what? I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you just got to open your perspective up a little
Yeah.
bit. It sucks. I'm not
It's
denying
hard.
that, but
Especially when you're in it too, you don't see that. Like I'm guilty for that.
Don't
I can give
sit-
advice, but I can't take my own advice
yeah,
sometimes.
if you want to heal, don't sit and sulk. Don't sit and look back every day at what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Don't keep surrounding yourself in the relationship or you're not going to get over
That's
it.
good advice.
You got to move on. You got to move forward. I'm not saying that you can't be disappointed or dissatisfied.
Emotions are normal, and you need to process those too.
And accept it.
Yeah.
But you can't move forward without ending it in your own way.
Yeah.
You have to move on from it.
And I think time does heal everything. I think the more separation that you get from the person and the idea and the normalcy of it, like you soon adapt and change your routines, your habits. Like you lose touch from that. But it is hard at first, especially if you didn't want it to end, because you're just gonna focus on all the, I feel like, the reasons you didn't want it to end, rather than focusing on all the positives. That's like what's to come.
Yes.
Like he said, one door closes, another door opens. Like I feel like every time I've ended things with like another guy, I meet a new guy and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so much better than my, like before, like I'm glad I didn't settle, or like I'm glad that other one ended because this is so much better. Or you learn such like a whole new lesson, I guess, from the next person that you're glad you learned, because then going forward it's like, okay, I want this in a person, I don't want this in a person, and I just kind of take every, like my like dating life's a mess. I like talk to different guys all the different, not all the different time, but like there's been like a lot of like situations that
Jake knows, not me.
There's been a lot of situations that haven't turned out, and it's kind of a joke of like, kind of like, Chloe, when are you gonna get it figured out? But I'm like, you know what? I don't get to like, I don't dwell on it too much. I try not to, and I'm just like, it's okay. Like it was just a lesson I needed to learn, and I also too think that's a reason because I was in such a long-term relationship so early on in my life. I didn't learn a lot of those lessons that I should have. Yeah.
I got a question for you. If you're trying to tell this girl on how to heal from a relationship, why are you saying that you're learning from the past relationship and then you move on to meet another boy and then you learn something else from that? Like, why do you go into relationships not thinking you're going to date them or anything like that? Like, I think right where you're doing is like the worst thing you can possibly do, because you don't know how the other person feels, how the dude feels. The dude could be so fully engaged in you and want to give you everything.
Who said I'm not engaged in them?
But you're just saying you're just
I'm
moving
saying when
on.
it doesn't work out, I move on to the next person and give them my all and see if it works out.
And before the podcast, Coy and I kind of talked about this, and I'm the same way. We are fast to move on.
And you have to be, it's the fastest, that's the end goal, is how fast can you move on. That is, at the end of the day, how you're going to get over someone is how you're going to change your routines, how you're going to change your lifestyle. But you have to change literally everything if they consume that much of your life. You can't just go...
I don't let people get that close to me.
Okay, then that's terrible.
Well, because I don't... It's not to that point. I haven't seen a person... Yeah, from the start. Nothing I've been involved in has been longer than probably 3 months. I don't let people control my, like,
it takes
inner peace too much.
3 to 6 years to fully understand
agree.
and know somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I get the rap that I run when things get serious. That's not true. I don't argue with people about it, but 3 months in, if I see something that's not changing, that I don't agree with, or that's not going to work out, I'm not going to stick it out.
Right.
I'm not going to stand there and try and fix a broken wheel that
as you
isn't worth fixing.
Right. So that's what
but
I
that's
do.
what she's getting at, is you learn
I
from those
think
previous
you
relationships.
Portrayed it
what
to
you're
the
gonna work or
podcast
not.
as you're on the one to the next.
Well,
I didn't think you explained
I
yourself
didn't,
enough. That's
right.
why I wanted to
I agree.
chip
I don't
in.
mean that. I don't just like jump from boom, 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 boom.
And
But it's like each guy like I'm with, I just don't dwell on it too much. Like when it's over, it's over. Like if something
Take
happens,
it for what it is.
yeah. And I'm like, I
Exactly.
accept it, and I take it as a lesson, and I'm like, okay, lesson learned. Like why that didn't work out. There's always like kind of like an underlining theme to as to why. Like there's like a lesson in every relationship,
100%.
and they're all different. Every single one of them has been so polarly different like that. I'm like. Every time I'm like, hey, God, I'm ready. I've learned it all. I've been through every lesson. And then, boom, he delivers me a new man. I'm like, didn't see that one coming. Blindsided. Holy cow. Like, but then I'm like, okay, that's another, like, I almost like, it's just kind of light. It's part of life.
It's a blessing.
I wonder if you listen to your brother sometimes, if that would help.
If you just ever listen to me.
Yeah.
No, and I agree because I agree. Because I'm really, no,
you know what I feel
will
bad
admit.
for? What I really feel bad for is girls that don't have a brother that will
I agree. I completely agree.
Oh, yeah, I feel bad for all you girls out there that, and even like
Getting a
not
guy's
even to
perspective
get too
has been very
personal,
good.
but a dad that is able to be like a lot in your life, like
Involved with like
Yeah.
that.
be
Like
there,
a good connection
like
that can be open.
by your side no matter what. I feel
well, and to
no,
know what a gentleman is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I
to
agree.
understand that you have a role model of what, like we've
You guys have
we've all
raised my
told
standards
Chloe
so
as
much.
well. She had a great relationship with a guy.
I did.
It didn't work out, but to hold any other person to that standard,
Mm-hmm.
because he truly is one of the best people you could ever ask your sister to date.
Yeah.
He was a really great person. It didn't work
Yeah.
out, that's okay, but she, from that, understands what it's going to take to have a guy
He raised
that's
the bar
worked.
so high,
Yes.
yeah. And I was glad because honestly, I'm gonna be honest, like I didn't realize, and again, I dated for 6 years, from 14 to 20. I never dated anyone else. I didn't know what else there was. That was just my normal. But it took me to realize, like, you guys telling me that. Because at first I was offended. I was like, you guys think I can't find a better guy? Like, I was like, yes, I can. He wasn't my person. And I get it was hard for you guys to understand that, but you weren't in the relationship. Like, there's always so
No.
much more. Because he was out, like, he treated me amazing. It's just, like, us two together, our personalities, our souls, like, we couldn't fulfill each other anymore. Like, we kind of fully capped it out. Like, we served each other to the
Yep.
maximum potential, but our lives were just going in different directions. It was nothing against who he was as a person and me, just we didn't mesh. But I didn't realize how well I was treated. I didn't appreciate it fully. And I wish, and not that I want to talk to him, but like I hope one day he understands how much like I do appreciate that, because I did it when I was in it. That was my normal. It was kind of like you take things for granted, you know? It's like, that was just normal. So you guys telling me that and like opening my eyes to how good I was treated, like has made me realize going into other relationships, I'm like, okay, he would have never done that, you know? And I'm like,
and you're not comparing other people to him, but you understand
what I could have, like what's out there too.
What to set your bar at.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm the same way. At 28 years old, I've learned, and I still continue to learn every day, more about relationships and what to do, what not to do, how to bring something up, how to say it. I'm a very, very, very confrontational person. If there's an issue, we are going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to have an active conversation about it and get it done with. I'm not going to sit and let it fester. I'm not going to let it bother you for 3 weeks. I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm not going to sit here mad over something that we could have a simple, active conversation about and move forward.
Yeah. And that's maturing. And I think what I've realized too, just from like living with Jake, I see how he dates versus how I date versus how you date. And like I said, we're all at different points in our life, and there's a big jump from 20 to 22, and there's an even more massive jump from 22 to 28. And it's like, I see that in just like the reflection of relationships and how you communicate and maturity. And like, even when I'm talking to him, I'm like, you're not going to understand half the shit I'm saying, because you're not to this level. You haven't lived this much life. You haven't had this many experiences. And the same thing when you're talking to me, I understand that I haven't lived that, and I will understand it in the future. So it's like, keep it as a marker, you know? Like,
another part for me is I've never used a dating app. Never even had one.
Yeah, I should delete Hinge, honestly.
So I don't know how today's dating world works. Anybody I've ever dated,
it's very tainted.
I've met. I knew who they were. You know?
Okay, but somehow, in my defense, it's hard, and this is a question we have later on. It's like being in a new city, I don't know anyone. And I don't work with anyone. I don't have any like communities to meet people through a network except for my church, which isn't a bad place to meet somebody, but it's like I'm very limited. So I have gotten Hinge and met people through Hinge and stuff, and I think this day and age it's a resource kind of, because that is, but people abuse it. People abuse it so poorly, and I think,
but that's everything in life. It doesn't matter what it is, good, bad, or what. You can relate this to any single thing. Any great thing will be abused.
Yeah.
Women's rights has been abused. I'm not opposed to women having rights, but the government took advantage of that, and now all families have 2 working parents, and women aren't raising children. That was a great thing that got abused to hurt families now. And
that's a really interesting take.
Everything's that way. Everything.
Literally everything.
In the 70s and 80s, motorcycle clubs, it was fast bikes and paint jobs. Whoever had the cover of the magazine, that was, you know, the people. Now it's about horrible things. And it was a great thing. Even
the gym's a great thing. People abuse it, and they like either put their all into it, or they get on roids and they get all this, or they like devote their whole life to it.
Which
I even did that a little bit.
Major health
complications, insecurities. Like your life revolves around something so strictly, and it's like it's such a healthy thing, but we abuse it in so many different realms. And
I don't know if you guys had it when you were in high school, but there used to be a poster in the health room, and it showed like if you eat 1 Snickers bar, you could eat 128 oranges. And I always looked at that and I'm like, 128 oranges. There's no way that's healthy either, though.
Right, too much.
And so I asked one day, I'm like, would you really rather us eat 128 oranges than a Snickers bar? And she goes, no, that's not good either. It's just an active way to show like the equation for sugar in it. I'm like, okay. She goes, if you ate 128 oranges, you'd have a lot of major problems between the acid in them and the sugar in them. That would hurt you. Like you can't do that.
Too much of anything is not good.
Literally, too much of anything is not a good thing.
And that relates, to literally every aspect in life, which is like a huge lesson that I think takes time to learn, especially too with like, and we all have it, like addictive personalities. I feel like we've all learned that the hard way. Like, too much of a good thing is too much. And like, we have kind of like had our vices and struggled with our things, or certain things. We've all had different struggles, like different areas that we like. Now I feel like we're stepping away from, and we're realizing that. But again, we have to put our energy and our focus into something else. And all 3 of us have put our energy and focus into work.
Yeah.
And I put mine into the gym, but now I'm putting it into work, and it's like we overdo it. But still, believe it or not, too much of work is not a good thing either. Like,
Oh, no.
Jake had to, like, literally straight up confront me about it one day. And I talked about it on here so many times, but it's like, I was overworking. And I'm like, I didn't even understand. And coming from the family we do, like, our dad overworks. That's how we were born and raised. That is all we're used to. And so I didn't realize it was an issue until, like, we all kind of step out into our own worlds and see the world for, like, outside of our home for the first time in forever. And I feel like it opened our perspective to being like, okay, what we grew up watching our dad work all the time, which it worked for our family. I'm very fortunate and blessed in everything he did, and he gave me a really good work ethic. But it's like, I didn't realize that not everyone does that, and that's not necessarily healthy.
Nobody does that.
And a prime example, that's I just looking to watch. You guys been back a week now?
Mm-hmm.
It's Saturday at 1:45 in the afternoon, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's still work.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how to shut off.
Mm-hmm.
I hop in my truck noon on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
go to work.
Every week.
Monday through Wednesday, work. Get home
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, Thursday morning. Go to bed, wake up at 7, go to the office, go to work.
Yeah.
Go home, go to work on Friday, go to the office Friday afternoon, restock, Saturday maintenance, Sunday back to work.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just never ending.
But that's how it has to be if you want to separate yourself from average to
I agree.
And that's
Pass-
the
If you
hard
want to
part.
get out of the rat race, you have to do that.
You have to separate yourself and not do what everyone's doing. So it is a choice, and you have to actively choose. And we have all been. That's the thing I feel like I'm struggling with too. It's like I want to enjoy my life and where I'm at, and appreciate how far I've come, and like take advantage of the opportunities I've now been given and worked for. But then it's like I'm still never satisfied, and I continue to work.
Well, but that's why you all are flying out tomorrow
Yeah.
to go back to Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, to enjoy it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's truly,
Yeah.
you know, like, it's Christmas Day and you guys are flying out.
Yeah.
You know, we don't waste. Every hour
I know.
is important in our lives.
I
Not
agree.
every day, not every week. Every hour is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Your efficiency rate, no matter what you're doing,
Uh-huh.
is always coming into play.
Yeah.
If you're running to town, you're going to figure out all 10
Yeah.
errands you have to run, so you don't have to go back and forth. You don't have time to go get a coffee, come back home, dink around, then go back out and go shopping, then come back home,
Yeah.
and then go a different direction, and then come back home, and then go back to the gym.
Yeah. No, I
You
put
just wasted
everything
45
around.
that's what
minutes.
I've learned
Yeah, I have.
has been the hardest thing for me to learn is because that's what I used to do is and
Yeah.
it wasn't even I used to do that. I used to get so much done, but then I would always come back and I'd be like, oh, like dang it, like I need to go do that, but that's all the way back in Scottsdale or Tempe, and that's 25 more minutes, and then 25 minutes leads into an hour of driving, and then you're out in town already, so then you're just gonna run and do a few more things, and then your whole day's there.
Shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing too that you've realized is that your time is so much more valuable than it's ever been, and so
And-
now those hours to you are so much more sacred. I think the older you
Yeah.
get, and like now that you're in your career, you're realizing that 'cause it's like every hour you could be like accomplishing, working, doing something rather than just.
I think that's just the blessing in disguise with being self-employed
Yeah.
is you don't have hours. There's no such
Yeah.
thing as you don't have to wake
A
up
9
at
to 5.
5:30 and you don't have to be working at 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. every single day. You don't have to be working from 9 to 12, then you get a 30-minute lunch break, and then you go back from 12:30 to 5, and then you go
Yeah,
home.
there's, like-
There's always something as being self-employed that I've learned is you can always be doing something
More,
else
yeah.
or more to then get you prepared or ready for
Yeah.
the next day. But there's no such thing as being prepared for the next day. I feel like when you're self-employed, because it's just going to happen and you're just going to have to do it regardless.
You have a to-do list that's 25 miles long.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You gotta learn to
Every day.
There's no
prioritize.
such
And you're
thing
not
as
going to get all
being
of it
ahead.
done. So
There's like
you
no
just-
light at the end of the tunnel.
Correct.
You know, it's just you're constantly chipping away.
Yeah.
Like you can't have an end goal. It can't be like, oh, I'm almost there, I'm 2/3 there. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, being this
Yep.
becoming self-employed is because I'm a very
But
like
you have to make
goal-oriented.
goals.
You
You
can't
do,
have,
and that's why it's important. That's what I've learned. That's how you stay on track.
But
and
there's
not
no
get,
pot of gold at the end.
no, it's you're not looking for
it's
the
like a constant ladder.
a big goal. There's no like you can't. I mean, yes, set and dream for the biggest thing you can dream of and go get it. But when you're self-employed and you're doing what we all do, is you're gonna have to step back and take the smaller things. Like
You have to appreciate
you
the
have
small
to
wins.
exactly like the oh, that was I didn't think I was going to get any money from that guy. I got $500. That's a win right there.
Yeah.
And normally, oh, that's just $500. You're probably not too happy about that. But then you have to realize, oh, I've never met this farmer in my life. First time pulling into his yard.
Yeah.
And I still got him into my trailer. I got him to buy a couple things. And now I can always come back. And you know that he's more than likely going to get in your trailer and then sell more.
Right. What we're saying is, I agree. Like, you have to stack the small wins. There was a podcast of, I think it might have been Andy Friskoff or whatever, the First Form guy. Frisella, yeah. And he was saying that, like, as an entrepreneur, like, you're gonna feel like you're losing 80% of the time. You're gonna feel like you're not going anywhere 10% of the time. Like 2% of the time, you're gonna feel like you're winning.
So I was gonna ask,
and it's like
Jake,
you gotta learn to stack the small wins because that's where momentum is.
Have you? I know you're not too far into it yet, but like, I had a day last week. Outstanding day, like probably one of the top 10 days I've had this year.
Mm-hmm.
It drug. Mm-hmm. Like, it did not feel like
you're on top of the
shit.
world. Yeah.
It didn't feel like a good day at all. Mm-hmm. And Dad's like, how'd you do today? And I started going through my head, and I'm like, actually, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I did really good. Like, today flew by, but it freaking drug. Like, it just did not. Have you felt that yet?
And that's how I feel so much of the time. And I think it's because we don't compare like ourselves to people like us, like to a normal 28-year-old, like in your like friend group, or your same 22-year-old in like a friend group, or even me where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest thing because I'll admit there's no other 20-year-old. I mean, there is, but not in my realm of like friends. There's one person, like Jace, I'd say is like the closest person to me that wakes up every day and has goals and he wants to achieve it. And I feel like that's the hardest thing because where I'm at now, I'm looking up to Ed Millette and I'm looking up to the people that have created 5-7 figure companies and are literally generating millions of dollars a day. Yeah. And that's who I look up to now. Those are the people I want to be. I don't want to be like an average 20-year-old kid that works at the gym that makes $12 an hour. I don't want to be the normal kid that just goes and sits in their like friend's basement and plays Xbox or just like goes out to the bar.
I think that's been kind of hard. I wanted to bring this up too. It's kind of hard. I mean, you were really successful in baseball. Really successful.
And then I went to nothing.
But Dad begged. Dad did not want you to go get a day job.
No.
Dad made that very clear.
To all of us.
So we didn't get caught in that.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for people our age to understand how that works. Because like looking at Jake, and this is a very surface level thing, if you look at Jake and you watched him through high school, you probably thought he was that kid that just got daddy's money and that's never going to do a damn thing in his life, that never has to worry about everything. But behind the scenes, it was constant conversations of
there's so much structure being
figure something out. Yeah. We don't care if you sell shoes. We don't care if you sell cars. You did all that. In high school, you were flipping cars. You were flipping shoes. You were flipping. Yeah. You were flipping bracelets.
I was gonna say middle school. You would take
the fidget spinners.
Yeah.
Like it's always been there, but nobody has watched it.
And that's just the thing.
You only meet people where they're at.
Where we're from. And I'm just going to be straight, open, and honest about it all. And I don't care. I can get shit on for it. Is as a family for us, I know from Chloe and I can say 110%. Through our high school, we never ever got complimented about nothing. It was always, oh, you're wearing Lulu now. Like, oh, you drive that cool Jeep. I had teachers shitting on me about what I pulled up in the parking lot. I had kids every single day. Oh, you got that now. Oh, you got that now. In that, like, no one realizes, but to us, it doesn't hurt me because I'm strong enough and I have.
Let it brush off your shoulder.
I don't care, but it is so annoying to always just hear day in, day out, especially from your own teachers in high school talking like not even like crap, but just saying, "Oh, you're driving this to school now." Yeah. That it's sickening. Like it all is any person that is talking, not even like crap on you or saying stuff like you're just giving all that. It's all just pure insecurity of themselves because they
Jealousy.
can't have,
It's a reflection
or
of
just
them.
jealousy because they can't have that. And I'm sorry, my parents worked a lot harder than your parents.
Well, not necessarily worked harder, but just...
No, but it is worked harder.
Well,
it is worked harder, and at the end of the day, that's what it is.
it's not that other
Dad
people's
didn't want a
parents
9-to-5
don't-
job
right, that's the
because
point.
he
People
wanted
don't
to
see
work
that
his
part.
ass off to give us the best life we could.
A lot of people don't realize that Dad wasn't around.
Yeah, people don't
Like
see that.
Jake, when Jake had baseball tournaments, yes, he was there.
As much as he could be, but he still missed a lot.
When Chloe had cheer tournaments, yes, he was there, but he was not there on Wednesday night to take you to cheer practice. He was not there on Tuesday night to take you to baseball practice.
To make us dinner and to prep our uniforms. And
Not that he wasn't around, but he sacrificed.
he would want to be there
ton.
too. Is the thing. He would want to be there.
Oh no, he'd drive from Indiana. He'd leave it.
Yeah.
He'd have 4 sales in the morning. He'd pack up and come home to make our games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he would drive 8
He'd wake
hours.
up at 2 a.m. instead of 4 a.m.
Yeah.
to get there ahead of the time so we could be home in time for our game that was
Yeah.
at 4 o'clock.
Like,
People didn't see that,
Right.
especially in our community and where we grew up, a small town in Iowa. Like, not a lot of our dad. It's a family-owned business. Like, there's not 10 other people who do what he does, and it's so hard to explain because we did have like a certain light shined on us that was like a really misconstrued concept of like how we grew up. And like the thing is, the proof's in the pudding, and I feel like all of us have, not that we have to prove ourselves, but like it's kind of like we just kept going, and now it's like I feel like we've all kind of got it figured out, fortunately. But it's like we would not be here if we didn't have all that prior work and things like ingrained in us growing up.
Our
And we
work
saw
ethic.
that our work ethic, and we saw that growing up, and it's like we saw the sacrifices both of our
Well, and
parents
if you-
made
yes.
on the day to day. Like there was not a single day Dad has ever.
have you ever looked
missed
at Mom's
work.
calendar from 10 years ago?
Oh my God, I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she did it. Like
Yeah.
she had 3 kids.
It was
were
a
in
team
multiple
effort.
things. Oh my God, like they both worked equally as hard, just in completely different ways.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would say, not to interrupt you, Mom worked harder than Dad.
Yeah.
But it's in such different things, and almost going back to where you said with like the woman's like rights and all of
Yeah.
that stuff is, that's almost, Mom had a full-time job and she worked overtime pretty much every single day
Yeah.
of the week. Yeah, she never seeked any reward or any money or anything like that out of it, and yes, I still give her shit from time to time. Oh, you just do that, like you could have done that. But when you take a step back and actually look what she did, she would drive Chloe to Cedar Rapids for cheer practice, and then she'd come back and drive me to Iowa City for baseball practice, and then she had to come back and then make us dinner,
But
and
no,
then
then she
prep
picked me up,
everything.
drop all my friends' or all my teammates off at their house. We'd freaking carpool, you know. Mom was
Yeah.
always the driver. Then she'd go back and pick Jake up. Then she'd get us home. Then she'd cook us dinner. Then she'd have our laundry done. House was cleaned. And she'd have a schedule for the next day done. She would wake up, cook us, literally, we had a hot breakfast every day.
Every
growing up.
morning.
I had freaking pancakes for breakfast every single day. Now, I can't even make myself oatmeal in the morning because it's too much work. I'm like, she got up and she did that so selflessly. And then we leave, and then she would do her thing during, like, she never just sat and watched TV. She was
Right.
cleaning, she was cooking, she was doing
Running
the
errands.
In the
bills.
schools.
Oh my God,
She
she
was
volunteered more than
bored.
anyone I know. Like, she was involved in every aspect. And, like, Jake and I, specifically growing up, were very anxious children. Like, Mom would volunteer at church on Wednesday nights because you couldn't be apart from her. You had, like,
Well, yeah, my
separation
anxiety was so bad.
And, like, that was the same for me. Is like, I had an issue where, like, I would like cry. I would go to the counselor's office in 2nd grade every single day because I missed my mom and I wanted to go home. She would
I
have to like
wouldn't
come to the school and like handle that in the middle of her freaking day because I was like a little baby.
I didn't
But, like,
even make it to school.
no, Jake would puke every morning before school because he'd get so worked up. And it's like all these little things you don't even think of that Mom had to deal with and she had to learn how to do. But also, too, watching your kid struggle that hard and be that anxious and not want to be away from you is probably killing her inside, too. So it's like, and Dad was gone. She had to call Dad on the phone. Like, she told me so many times she would drop me off at school and then call Dad crying because she was like, she couldn't. She didn't want to do it. She did it. But, like, it was so hard for her. And I'm like, there's just so many it's just, the more you grow up and mature and get into life and get in relationships and work and stuff, you view your parents differently. And it's like, also too, you realize like they didn't know what they were doing. They were first time parents.
Well, and I hope everybody appreciets what their parents have done
Yeah.
for them.
Because
Exactly.
every
No
parent
matter
is making
what.
sacrifices, whether it's
Yeah.
in one way or another.
If you're raised, if you've been raised, if you're over 18 and you had your parents
Someone
in
in your
life,
life,
I
a
hope,
grandparent even.
Yeah,
like,
I hope you or understand and appreciate the sacrifice it takes to raise someone. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, and
It
it
is.
doesn't ever end.
no, they're still parents. Oh my God, I call Mom every single day. still, I'm 22 years old. I live across. I could talk to her more than ever. But like, I'm texting her on the like. She is my best friend. Like you were saying, Dad's your best friend. Mom is my best friend. Like I tell her literally probably too much. I probably tell my mom too much, but it's like, she's just like, and I love Mom because she's so cut and dry. She tells me exactly, she knows me so well, obviously, but like she tells me exactly how I need to hear, but she tells me exactly what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. You know, and like she wants the best for us. Like no one wants better for us than our own parents. Like they would literally do anything for us.
And us three, like Chloe and I were talking before the podcast, like I don't think anyone probably wants all of us to be as successful as all of us want each other to be. It's not a competition of who's going to be the best.
Right, because we all excel in different
areas.
But
we're going to try and help each other as much as possible. Like Jake is doing sales, Chloe's doing sales, I'm doing sales. We all three sell something completely different, but we bounce ideas off of each other to try and help each other to look at different avenues.
You both have taught me more than any business school. And Jake's just getting into sales. Me and him have these conversations about work all the time. And like me and you have these conversations all the time. Like literally you two have taught me more about business and sales than a 4-year college degree did.
And what I can say is not leading into a college degree or get into it at all. But that's another big thing, I think, with how we were raised and taught in our day-to-day lives of seeing what Dad did to seeing what Mom did, is in the big like picture of it, it's so weird, but you're the only kid in our family that graduated from college.
I know.
In 2023, to be like the kind of family we were portrayed as to be, and you're the only kid in our family that graduated from college, is first off just unreal, and then second off, you don't use anything you learn from college in your day-to-day life right now.
A little bit, but like not as much of like the value doesn't align. Like I definitely utilize things, and I think a lot of school, like it was the structure, the routine, the doing things you don't necessarily want to do, holding yourself accountable, studying, forcing yourself to like, I guess, do things I didn't want to do. It taught me that. Like it was more than the curricular in college. It was everything else, and I had to learn how to juggle certain things and like commute and network and stuff. Like I don't regret anything in life, and I think everything happens for a reason. And my degree, I'm glad I have it. I don't regret it. I almost dropped out, and again, like it was another thing where I had to push through, and it taught me a lot of lessons of being like nothing's permanent. Persevere, and like you're gonna be happy in the long run if you just stick it out a little bit.
I still wholeheartedly believe, though, the mother of learning is experience.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Exactly.
I learned more doing what I do on social media and sales than I did in, like I said, in any class. Like, I didn't retain anything I learned. It was everything I experienced by going to school that I learned.
Let me ask you guys this question, and this is just kind of what I think of just when I really don't have that many friends, I'll be honest. I think to myself a lot now, and I've had to find things that I can do by myself that I actually truly do enjoy, because I will admit when you're by yourself and you don't have nobody else around you, you can't just do something that you kind of sort of like to do.
You know what's funny? I don't want to interrupt you. We've all been through that. You went through a really like isolated time. I lived alone for 2 years. I went through a very isolated time, and now you're in that era.
But so I just I love just to like jot ideas down and like questions, just like ask myself, and that's what I find like interesting. And I was just kind of thinking one day, and I want to ask you guys, so you're in high school and then you're gonna go to college, and you want to do a business major with a marketing major too, or like however that works. So then you're gonna go into college and you're gonna go sit in all these classes and lectures and stuff, and you're gonna have the teacher, your professor up there telling you how to start these $1 million companies, how to start all this stuff. But how can you listen to the professor teach you or tell you how you can start all this stuff and how you can make it to the top? Like,
I'm gonna make this really short, and I don't want to.
Sorry guys, my camera died. So little intermission, but.
So with what Jake was talking about, and this doesn't really go for high school, but when it comes to college, we're done after saying this, but those who can, do.
Yeah.
Those who can't, teach. Leave it for what it is. I'll
And you
let
said
y'all think
strictly
about
college.
it. But think about this. Those who can,
I think that goes
Dude.
beyond. I think that goes beyond even school.
That's
though.
those
Right.
who can't, teach.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about
All right. Yeah. That was good. Okay, let me move on to like another question. But yeah, I knew this episode was gonna go in like so many other directions. Like we're talking so much business, and I love it.
It's not even business though.
It's just life. Okay. So this is a good question. This is kind of what we talked about because you were talking about friends and stuff. So if you're no longer drinking, what do you do with your friends that revolve around it? I say just all in all, find new friends.
Find new friends.
it. Hate saying it.
You don't need to leave those friends behind, but you need to find more friends to spend time with. Like you don't feel
Yep.
like you're missing out. Like have like it's like a substitute. Like
I'm gonna-
a replacement.
There's
Interrupt
only-
you. No. Leave them.
No.
No. Because that just drags you back into your old habits and your old lifestyle so easy, so
and it's
fast.
not, you don't have to hate those people.
No.
But I've had this revelation literally 2 weeks ago. There are very few people I talk to from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time I'm around them, and it's rare to begin with, what are they doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm the same way. Like the front.
They're either in somebody's basement drinking
Yeah.
or they're out drinking. They do not do anything unless it revolves around drinking. Bowling, golfing, it has to have a drink. Boating has to be drinking. They will not do it
Yeah.
unless you can drink.
Right. It's interesting because the new friends that I've made since moving, and that's another question we can get into, but none of them drink. They are all sober. Well, they'll like lightly drink, maybe like one drink every blue moon.
Not necessarily sober,
Not
but
sober, but like they don't go out.
That's
They do
not
not
their
go
plan.
out. And I that's why we click. So it's like those people are out there, and I used to think, oh, everyone drinks. No, that is a bad. No, you just don't want to. You don't want to accept that. My
but we
best
thought
friend,
it was normal because growing up,
Yeah.
Dad drank a 6-pack
oh yeah,
every night.
Well, alcoholism
that,
runs in our family. Like it's not like
that was normal, but that's
we drink
functioning.
and,
Like
yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't.
No,
It
it wasn't
wasn't
right.
abusive. It
No.
wasn't bad. It wasn't. He woke up every morning,
Yeah.
went to work like a normal
He
human
wasn't
being.
hungover and stuff. Like it was just.
Just drank
Yeah.
a 6-pack
But
every
again,
night.
that's what he was used to because that's what he was
Growing
around.
up as.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I'm telling you. That's why I said
Yeah.
that.
Okay, I do take
What
that.
said
Yeah.
is leave them. Where I'm at in my life right now, that's the hardest thing for me to do because
Especially as a 20-year-old.
I'm the prime
And
example.
I want you to know, Dad called me one night about this last time you guys were back, and he was like, "I'm really impressed." He goes, "They were badgering the shit out of Jake, and he didn't budge. He stuck to his guns."
And
He goes,
that's
"I
just-
couldn't believe it." Like
That's one
he
thing
goes,
I was-
"I could not believe how ruthless these people were to try and get
And they'll
Jake
do
to
that.
drink
Oh my gosh.
because they don't want to feel
It's even
out of
adults.
place.
It's not even your friends.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
parents.
yeah.
It was more
That's happened to
adults than it was kids.
Yeah.
Most of my friends have accepted it and want the best for me, and
And it took probably 6 months when I became sober for people to take me serious that I was done drinking. At
Exactly.
least.
I found my truest friends through that. Like one of my very best friends, and I don't see her enough anymore, but like we would go out and I'd tell her I'm not drinking, and I would cave. I'm gonna, like, I'll be honest, like I'd be like, it's okay, I'm just gonna have one, and she'd be like, no. She'd literally look me in the eyes and be like, Chloe, you said you're not drinking, and I'd be like, thank you. And I like, so like, I appreciate it then, but like I appreciate it even more now to like know like that's a
Yeah.
genuine friendship and who wants the best for you. So it's like to seek out those people, and she still drank and she was still like a good person and wanted the best for me, and but could hold me accountable to that.
Exactly, and I'm not gonna go out and say everyone that drinks or does all those bad things are terrible people
No,
because
but it's like if you
not
want a
any of
different
them
life.
are one. Like none of them are bad or anything like that. It's just when you, at the end of the day, when you finally want to give it up and become a new person and change your life, you can't have nothing like just every time in churches. You can't have a weight at the end of your feet at all. Like you have to cut every
There's-
single string,
That's
no
why I have
matter
this tattoo right here that
what
says
it
"Cut
is.
the dead weight" right down
no
my side.
matter
I like that.
what
It's
it
a
is.
boat anchor, and it just says "Cut the dead weight," and that's the whole purpose. Is every morning when I put a shirt on, I look at that tattoo, I think about it every single morning. You gotta cut the dead weight.
I
Yeah.
like that. I didn't know that.
And
Imagine having cinder blocks tied to your ankles.
yeah.
How much harder is it going to be to walk?
Yeah.
And that's just in life, and that's why I kind of wanted to like interrupt you and say that.
No, I'm
is
glad you
just
did. Yeah.
and because that's what everyone wants to say because they want to hear the best answers. Oh, just like don't be as close with them anymore. Was well, how do I not be as close as them with
Yeah.
them anymore, but still be their friend?
Yeah.
It's you can't do
So
that
there's
at the
other
end of the
issues,
day.
too,
You
with
have to
that.
cut the tie. I'm sorry if it's your best friend if it's the kid you grew up with your whole entire life, but if they don't want to accept
And life
what you're
goes
doing
on. It's
for
not the end of the world.
Right. That's
You're
so
not
true.
mad at that person.
Exactly.
If you see him, you're gonna say hi.
Yeah.
There's no ill intent.
Right.
It's just not gonna be the person you're
Yeah.
always around.
And I think at some point that person will too learn to understand that, like accept that, and it'll be full circle. It just might not be that moment,
And hey,
but later on in life they will.
sometimes people are gonna be mad about it.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
Let them be mad.
Yeah. Just know that you can't.
Yeah.
You cannot make someone feel a certain way.
You can't make everybody happy at the end of the day.
You'll never satisfy.
You'll never be happy.
That's I think why it's important just to like do it for yourself.
You have to do it for
You
yourself.
have to put yourself number
You
one.
have to.
Yeah. Okay. Good. The next one, this is a good one, and I have one just simple answer to this, but I'm curious what you guys will say. So the question was how to accept rejection. And what I say to this every single time is rejection is God's redirection. Like I said, most of the time when you feel rejected, it's not meant for you. That's not your destiny. You're not meant to have that, and it's God literally like putting a stop to it because they know you're going for it full force, and the only thing that's going to turn you around is literally being rejected, and it's like redirecting you to what is either better or what is meant for you.
But what if it's you're chasing your dream and
that's
then
not
you
the
get
dream.
rejected?
A lot of times
But
we think our dream is what we think we know what we want or what we're destined to do, but that's not always actually the right answer.
When you say it's your dream, I relay that to
Dream and
one door
destiny.
closes,
Yeah.
another one opens.
Yeah.
Where when it comes to relationship wise on this side of it, especially if you're a guy, get the hint. Move on. Like, I know personally people that have reached out to you and you're like, these guys will not stop.
Some people are persistent.
And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. If you don't get the hint the first or the second or the third time, quit throwing the ball at the wall. It ain't going any further.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just stop. I cannot stand when I see that there's a guy that has messaged this girl 11 times to zero response, and then F you, you're ugly anyway. Really?
Yeah.
You didn't get the hint the first 11 times you messaged her?
Yeah.
Just stop. Walk away.
I think rejection's like hard to accept because we think it like it's a negative to us and we take it as like an insult, but like it's really not. It's just not meant to be.
Right.
That's just how I take it. Like a job, like there's so many times in people's career paths, like I hear all these super hyper successful people and they're rejected by one thing and then they think their life is over. They're devastated. That's what they worked for their whole life. They go to college, they like a lawyer or something, and they don't get into the firm that they wanted to or something, but then another door opens and it leads them down to something that is fulfilling. It's what they're meant to, like it's just so much better.
Jake getting started. If this doesn't work, there's always something.
Yeah.
Like I told Chloe before the podcast, when you're a Trca, we're Trcas, you give me a month, I'll sell anything.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care
You
what
can
it
sell
is.
one thing, you can sell.
Like, but I kind of lost my track. What were you saying?
We're just talking about rejection
But
and redirection, and Jake just
not to interrupt you guys, but I guess you should go into more depth of what you're trying to say is.
Oh, what I was gonna say. Sorry. I think I have to count again. In 4 years, I had 7 or 8 career changes. So if this first path that you're on, you're giving it and it's working, don't get me wrong. But if it doesn't, there's gonna be something else.
Well, most of the time,
like,
people do 10 different things. Successful people do 10 different things. They never finish where they started.
it just happens.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
a pretty natural
you just
process.
keep rolling
Yeah.
the ball.
Yeah.
I think where people get caught is when they get in a negative mindset that that's the only thing they know, that's the only thing they think they know,
Yeah.
and they get stuck there.
Yeah.
And then it's like the wheels are spinning and you can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, well, find a different path.
Yeah.
If the wheels are spinning,
Reroute.
turn around
Yeah.
and
that's
figure
what
it
you
out.
Turn right, turn left, freaking
exactly.
exit. I think people think that like rejection equals failure, and I also don't agree with that. Like, if also too, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. I think you need to be
Exactly.
failing in life.
There's a
for
big
saying
difference
that.
between failing and failure.
Yeah. Yes, we talked about this, and I
Yes.
think that's so huge. Failure is like accepting it and like giving up, and I think failing is just part of the process. You're
It
just
is.
you're learning, you're going. It's
Exactly.
everything's
You're
trial
gonna
and
have
error.
a bust.
Oh
Like,
my god, yeah.
it
Every day
happens.
you fail. I fail every single day at something, and it's like you can't focus and fixate on the failures. You gotta, like I said, it's all mindset. Everything's a mindset, and if you take it as a lesson and you find like the positive in it, that's one thing I do pride myself in. That like I haven't always been like this, but I can almost turn any negative to a positive. We were running with my friends. We were running a 10 mile. One guy's never ran, and he was talking all this, like, I'm in pain, da-da-da. I'm like, use it as, I'm like, just think about you're in pain now, how much easier it's going to be on another hard run. One, you're going to accept the fact that you made it through this 10-mile run. If you can do something hard now, you can do it later.
Yep.
2, it's making you stronger, so it's going to be easier. And also, 2, you're going to be more appreciative of a run where you feel great. Because it's like, I don't feel as shitty as I did last time. And it's like, it's all about how you hardwire your thoughts. Unless, like, if he could have kept running and been like, I'm in pain, I'm not a runner, this isn't for me, that's not doing anything.
Well, and every now and then, you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Oh, right.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, I had a few really great weeks. I got to write a really big check because we can't get a certain socket set for a guy. And he wanted to prepay for it. I didn't want him to, but he was dead set. Well, and I get paid right away out of that. Well, now I have to go write him a check back because we can't get that. And I wanted to double check, but he was adamant about doing that. So I had a really good week. Well, then I had that happen. And then I had a guy that returned a huge order. And then I had a guy that returned another thing. And it's like, every now and then you do get your ass handed to you. You still have to appreciate that person. You still have to accept, because they're still an active customer. That's not the end of the road with that customer. Those guys still all buy from me. I can't be mad at them. Being mad at them is going to lose you a customer. You have to appreciate every customer you get, because you would not have a job without your customers.
Right. That's what I mean about my followers. Like, sometimes people will say, like, in my DMs, I get something, I'm like, that's kind of offensive, or why'd they point that out, or like, damn, like, I can't catch a break, or people notice things I don't even notice, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm like, they're not doing with ill intent either. It's like, they're still supporting me, and it's like, they don't, I don't know, a lot of times I even talk about this, and people are like, you look amazing, you're looking so good recently, and it's like, to me, them saying that, they think it's a compliment, but to me, it's like, oh, I didn't look that good 3 months ago,
Right.
And I'm like, damn, like, and then it makes me insecure, honestly, when I'm at my better physique, but I'm like, okay, then I'm like, I'm almost embarrassed that I was posting the photos I was 3 months ago, because I'm like, did I not look great, because I wasn't getting those comments, and so that is like a mind game in itself, and it's, like I said, it bleeds into every different avenue of life, and all of our different niches and stuff, but, yeah, I guess that was kind of a bit of a derailment from accepting rejection, but honestly, I just think rejection, it's a mindset, and you just have to accept it, and you can't dwell on it, and you have to find the new path and trust that it's happening for a reason. I think that's the best thing. You just have to have faith in it, and I think that's why my relationship with God is so huge, because I do have faith in His plan and everything that He has for me.
And just because one person rejects you, life ain't over.
Not everyone's gonna like you. Oh my God, like, I get unfollows, I get blocks, I get mean comments. It's like, I don't want everyone to like me.
Well, No,
I've accepted that not everyone's gonna. I can't please everyone.
I was just gonna agree with you and tell you, you're never going to make everyone.
And I'm almost happy that some people don't agree, because it's like, okay, at least I know people know I stick to what I say and I represent what I say, because I can't represent everything at the same time.
And it's okay to not agree with everything. That's why we are individuals. We don't have to be the same. You don't have to believe every single thing. I guarantee you that between the three of us, there are discrepancies.
Oh, yeah.
That we would not come to common ground.
They've probably already seen that throughout this podcast. But it's like, I feel like we're doing a good job of, like, actually having the conversation.
And an open mind. And here's one thing, to go completely off on a different tangent, that really bothers me. And I hope anybody that listens to this can actively try and do better at this. Because as a country, as a world, we have to start figuring this out. Go have a conversation with an open mind. Don't think that you always know the right answer, that you're the only way, your way is the only way. If you cannot actively have an open conversation about something and try and see the other person's side of it, you're not going to gain anything.
That's something I used to struggle with, honestly.
Don't even go in there and have an actively open conversation. Go in there to a conversation and just shut up for one time and listen.
Actively listen. Don't hear them.
Biggest thing that I've learned over the last couple months in life is, if you just go into a conversation, just go talk to someone older than you that has more experience in life, and just ask them questions, and they're gonna tell you everything you want to hear, but you feel like you're never gonna hear that answer, because you're always the one that it always has to be about you. In a conversation, everyone wants to talk about themselves. That's the biggest thing in life, and that can go into sales, that can go into everything. Is the next time you go into a conversation, just shut up and ask a question, and just let the other person talk. Even if it gets awkward, just let the other person just keep on talking, keep on opening up just
you'll
new
notice
things
on an
in
active
your head.
Conversation, people won't be talking about themselves.
Exactly.
They'll be talking about experiences, not about themselves.
Exactly.
One thing that all of us I know have noticed and seen is people that try to keep up with the Joneses, to try and look like they're something, to try and put on a face that they are where they're at.
Yeah.
I could not care less. Like you were just talking about your watch. The guy was
I went on a date
mad
with this
because
guy, and I didn't notice his Rolex, and it was like he didn't believe me that I didn't notice it. I'm like, honestly, I don't give a shit what's on your wrist.
right.
It's about the conversations we're having, how you make me feel, and like how the night's going. It's not. I almost would prefer if he just didn't have it, because I'm like, I feel like he's feeling like
That's
he
your
needs to prove
conversation
himself.
piece. That's
Yeah.
really what you have to worry
Yeah.
about. Like I wear big watches because I'm blind as a bat, and I like to be able to read it
Yeah.
quickly.
I
I
my
don't
damn
like looking at
Apple
my
Watch.
phone.
I was like,
I don't like looking at my phone,
Yeah.
and I like big-faced watches so I can quickly look at it, see the date, the time, and move on. And I had a guy, he's like, "Oh man, I bet that was a lot of money." I'm like, "Well, it depends. I mean, it wasn't a $20 watch, but it's not a $20,000 watch, you know?" And I'm like sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, that guy really cared. Like that was what he was worried about. Or I've had people comment on vehicles I've driven. Teachers even in school.
yeah, my
Like,
God too.
We, as Trcas, promise you, buy low, sell high. That is what we do. I'm not going to deny it to anybody. We
Yes,
buy
that's
low,
so true.
sell high. It is
We're gonna
not
screw
hard.
you
It's
over no matter
not,
what.
That's
No,
not true.
No.
But it's not a secret.
No.
No, we don't buy anything new.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks we've got.
We do, because
the
we're good at
greatest
what we
and
do.
latest.
Dad's
Yeah.
good at buying low and selling high. He's good at it. You guys are freaking good at it. That's why you guys help me buy my cars. That's why we find the places we live at. Like, we do the things we do.
Can I pause you in that whole thing? When you're saying you guys,
It's
it
usually
should
Jake.
be
Okay,
you.
yeah.
Tell me something that our whole entire household,
Okay,
as a
sorry.
church of family, owns in assets right now that I haven't found them.
My King Ranch, my trailer,
I found your truck.
my Harleys.
I found your truck.
Not the one I have now.
Yeah,
The
huh?
white one you did.
I found your black one too. I thought.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, huh? Because you got from a dealership.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You sent. Well,
I sent that to you. Yeah.
There
I
we
looked
go,
at
friends.
4. It could have been. I did, but
Anyway.
the one I ended up getting, just to even
Yeah, it
elaborate
doesn't
further on
matter
this,
at the end of the day.
the one I ended up getting, there was 4 trucks I was looking at. It took me 7
Mm-hmm.
weeks to find a black pickup, which I think is ridiculous, but I will not overpay. 3 of them were $15,000 more than this truck for
Mm-hmm.
the exact same truck.
There's
There was
always
nothing different.
There's always a better deal out there, guys. You can't just, until you have it like that, you can always find it cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not opposed, I support small businesses. I support local.
Yeah.
I try and buy, like, I'm not
But
afraid
there's
to
certain
pay
areas to pay, and there's
certain
certain
things.
areas
Oh,
to not. But like your
100%.
car isn't necessarily something that you need to buy high.
Yeah, we didn't know Randy down at the Ford factory that built my pickup.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go,
Right.
try and line Randy's
Right.
pocket.
Right.
Now, if I've got a buddy that's
Mm-hmm.
building chopper parts and he's $200 more, I'm still going to buy
Yeah.
it from him.
Yeah.
Like
That's
I'm,
different. Yeah. Like,
I'm still going to support the people that I can. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing. I have this big picture that is hand painted and it says no homie hookups. And it's the Monopoly man and it says cash only on his hand. And people will walk in and they laugh. They're like, oh yeah, but you help me out. I might hurt some feelings, but no. There's 2 people that get deals from me. One doesn't pay at all. The other one I own another business with. That's it. Everybody else, you're paying what everybody else pays. Why? Because then you can't be mad when John got it for 20 and you got it for 45.
Yeah.
You make it 45 for both. If they want to support you, they will. If they don't, they can go
Yeah.
support somebody else.
Yeah.
It's the worst customer you can have is a friend.
Yeah.
You will have more customers become friends than you will have friends become customers.
I agree.
Always.
That's a good.
The worst customer you can have is a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. On to the next question. So I like this question. I think this will be good because we kind of touched on it, but not directly. So it says having friends who have different lifestyles and outlooks on life.
I think you have to have people.
I
with
think it's good
different
to have
perspectives.
diversity in that sense because you learn a lot from other people. But I also do think it's really important to have people like mentors. So I guess not, they don't necessarily need to be your friends, but you need to have like mentors in your life who are doing the things that you do and have the interest. But it is really hard to have like like most of my friends are people that have like similar interests, I guess, or like lifestyle, like habits. So
That's
I guess
why they're your friend.
yeah, right.
But all my friend groups are different. You know, I have a friend in this group, I have a friend in this group, I have a friend in this group, and I have a friend in this group, but none of them are friends.
Yeah.
But I'm friends with all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
You have to have some diversity.
Yeah.
I just truly
I think
believe.
that's important.
But I still believe that you are a product of what you surround yourself with.
Exactly.
So I think it needs to be the differences in you need to still be like positive differences. It can't be like, oh, they party and do drugs on the weekends, I'm sober. Like, I don't think that's like the good difference to have, but it's like, oh, like.
Well, and I hate saying this, but I don't have a better way to explain it. All of my friends